I'd like to tell some things about residential floor plans or floor plans of houses, because I think that's a very interesting subject actually in architecture. Yeah, to begin with, let's say if we look at normal standard Dutch residential floor plans, so ground floor, first floor. Actually, these are very straightforward. They're very functional too, but perhaps a little bit dull. There's a large living room, a kitchen, entrance, bathroom, stairs to the first floor, and then small bedroom, large bedroom, and a very small little corridor bathroom. All is functioning well, but there's not much to experience, or spatially they're not very interesting. Now, floor plans can be very different spatially, or they can have a clear idea spatially. These two plans are taken from an essay by Robin Evans, British architectural historian, and one of his essays is called Figures, Doors and Passages. And this essay is about maybe how floor plans changed in the course of history. So he starts with a floor plan by Palladio, in which, let's say, of 1556, in which all rooms are directly connected. So there's each room has a direct connection to the next one. There is no dedicated circulation space, no corridors, no hallways, perhaps maybe for the stairs that are here. To such an extent that even the bathrooms, if you're sitting on the toilet here, there could still be people passing through this room, and everywhere. This happens everywhere. So there's no idea of privacy maybe. He then shows that about 100 years later, we see a floor plan, this one, by an English architect called John Webb, which is actually very similar to the Palladio plan, or it looks very similar, but there's one big difference. Suddenly there is a passage in the middle of the plan. So if I want to go, for example, from this room to this room, previously I would need to go like this, maybe disturbing people that are here. Now I actually can bypass this, so people who are here could have, if they would want to, privacy. Apparently here this concept of privacy is not important at all, and here suddenly it's possible, and maybe in the end, let's say in how we are living now, a bedroom like this is only accessible through one door, so privacy here is actually very important. I like this example because it shows, that ideas about how plans are organized change in the course of history. Another book which I really enjoy is this. It's called The Place of Houses, by Charles Moore, Gerald Allen and Don Linden, American architects. They also talk about their own designs. One of the things they do is divide the kind of floor plans you can have in a few categories. And maybe the first category they mention is an organization where indeed rooms are organized in a row. So they call it rooms linked. They have this very simple example, and this more elaborate example by Robert Adam in London, 1777. Here again, there's let's say a string of rooms or a sequence of rooms. You go from one room to the next in a long row. And the nice thing is, this kind of organization you can also find in contemporary floor plans. The third book I want to show, little booklet, Formats for Living, has contemporary floor plans in Amsterdam, and we find similar organizations. Charles Morris is showing in floor plans of now. For example, this apartment by Dutch architect Sjoerd Soeters. Maybe here the idea is again, just like in the Robert Adam plan, that rooms are organized in a row. Well, you could ask yourself, is this a room? But I think Sjoerd Soeters deliberately made this hallway in the middle large enough that it can act as a room, and that's also why he doesn't do two doors, but four. So there's this very generous dimensions to this plan. A second way of organizing, Charles Moore calls rooms bunched. So there are here three examples. Rooms are just bunched together without a very clear organization. An example of this could be this design by Mies van der Rohe, which is called Landhuis in Backstein. I think it's somewhere in the 1920s. And interesting about this design for me is the rooms are indeed bunched together, but if you look at how they are orientated, this plan has this kind of centrifugal quality, which is helped by the walls which extend into the landscape. So there's this very strong outward movement in this plan. Again, this has never been built, but again in this little book we can find also this happening in contemporary plans and more, let's say, standard Dutch residential architecture. Maybe the same things are happening. This is an apartment by Spanish architects Cruz and Ortiz for an apartment building in Amsterdam. And I think here again this is also rooms bunched. And the nice thing is they do something special if you look very closely. This apartment is very deep. So this is front facade, rear facade. This distance is very deep. There is already, you see already a kind of diagonal organization, but very cleverly they position the doors in such a way. If you imagine all these doors being open, and you're standing here, you can look all the way to the other side of your apartment. And I think this diagonal gives a big feeling of space, of spaciousness. And of course there are the windows. So this diagonal even continues towards the outside. Because the apartment is organized in this corner, there's this other diagonal as well. So we see a little bit the same kind of characteristics as we also saw with Mies van der Rohe. Again, showing that's maybe examples of high architecture can be used in residential floor plans. Two more kinds of organizations, again from the Charles Moore book. This is let's say one big space. When you would live here, you would experience this as one big space, and all the services are combined in one solid core. This is the glass house by Philip Johnson. All this is glass, but it's very deliberately designed that you experience the totality of the space in one view. And again, also this could be translated to normal floor plans. For example, you see the same principle here. The ground floor is divided in bedrooms and a bathroom, but the upper floor, which would be the living floor, all the surfaces are combined in one core. And the spatial idea is that you experience this whole space as one thing. So if you're here, you always see that your apartment is this big. There's maybe one drawback. It's not very easy to arrange your furniture. If you want to have cupboards or couches, and you position them against these walls, actually you're more or less destroying the idea. So it's architecturally is nice, but it's rather it's not so easy to arrange all your furniture in such a way that the spatial idea is kept. Okay, maybe last example of this, to give you an idea of different kind of organizations, is one where there's a big space in the middle of your floor plan. Classical examples from the Charles Moore book. These are apartments by Alvar Aalto in Berlin, where you see that the middle of the apartment is living room, and all these smaller rooms are arranged around it. This is the balcony, so the daylight for the living room mainly comes from here. But very clever, you see here he does something. If you look at how you would move through this dwelling, I think you would walk here, because all the doors are here. You would walk here, and as this is the entrance, also here. But you see, you organize it in such a way that the middle stays open. This can be done in other ways too. This is a plan by Lisbeth van der Pol, Dutch architect. These are two possibilities for the same apartment actually. So she made this apartment with a big or generous hallway in the middle. She very cleverly does 3 sliding doors, so you can. It's very easy to open up everything. Again, you experience. That's why she does the diagonal arrows. You experience the whole thing as one space. But it would also be easy to close these doors. There's a concrete beam in the ceiling. So if you want to make partition walls, there's a logical position for them. So it would be easy to transform this apartment in an apartment with 4 separate rooms, or maybe 2 separate rooms, or 3 separate rooms. But she important for the spatial feeling of this apartment is that there's this big space in the middle. That's what I wanted to tell about residential floor plans. To show you that spatial ideas are in residential floor plans are very important. So how do you move through a plan? Where are the static spaces and where are the dynamic spaces, and what do you do with view lines? And I hope I showed this or I made this clear. Thanks.